to either one in our extreme kinds of personalities. If the enemy can't tempt us with destruction, he'll settle for distraction. Please do not miss that Martha was busy serving Christ, because a number of us participating are in this same kind of situation. It's not necessarily that we're in the captivity of activity to 1,000 worldly things. We may be so busy serving him that we have totally missed him. Is anybody relating with this today? Totally missed him. And we wonder where our joy has gone. We can serve Christ and still miss Christ. That's exactly what happened in Martha's home that day in Luke 10. Looking back now for the second point, look very carefully at the question she asked Christ. It says at the very end of verse 40, she came to him, this is Martha, and asked, Lord, don't you care? Lord, don't you care? Number two is this: we can get too busy to sense Christ's tender care. We can get too busy to sense God's tender care. I want you to hear this, not only with your ears. I want this thing to get all the way down in your heart today, because this can be the very reason why many of us are not abiding in the love of Christ and aren't continually reminded of how much he loves us. We're too busy and we're too distracted, and it takes some time. I want you to think this through. It takes some time. One of the sweetest experiences that I've had as a grandmother have not been my own times of holding my grandson, although I cannot even contain what I feel in my heart. Cannot even contain it. It so overflows. It is a joy like I have rarely experienced in the things of this present world. But as wonderful as it is, it does not compare to watching my own daughter with her baby, to watch her with him, to watch how he responds to her. And you know what? My little grandson doesn't just want her to feed him and change him. He wants her to hold him. There are times when Kurt will wake her up after he's done his shift. The baby wants to stay awake with him and stay very alive with him in personality, but he does not want to go to sleep for him. So sometimes Kurt will have to wake Amanda up, and she'll spend 10 minutes with him, and he's down. The comfort of his mother's arms. And we think, you know, it would just be immature. It's just childish of a believer to just want to spend time with Christ, to let him love on her. I mean, that's just a childish thing for anybody to take the time to do. But I want you to glance back for just a second at Luke 8:14. The seed that fell among thorns stands for those who hear, but as they go on their way, they are choked by life's worries, riches, and pleasures, and they do not mature because they're so busy they can't get on to maturity. So we'll think that the busier we are serving Christ, the more mature we are in him. That is not true. That is not true. Maturity happens at his feet and letting his word soak in and sensing his comfort and sensing his love. A strange thing happened to me that really made this whole principle come alive about a year and a half ago. It may have been just a little bit longer ago than that. Every single morning, Keith and I have this usual ritual. I will get ready, put my makeup on, put my mascara on, all I have to do right there at the bathroom mirror. And our tub is sitting right here. And he'll sit on the edge of it and he reads the paper, just like this very familiar scene in our home. And he'll read me anything of great interest. We both love the newspaper. And so that's our time together. We were discussing that morning a situation that had arisen in ministry and in publishing that was so frustrating. It just did not seem like there was an answer that we were going to be able to find. This situation, this conflict was not between Keith and I. We were just discussing it together. And I did the strangest thing for me. For my personality, I hauled off and I just kicked the bottom of the bathroom cabinet. And I mean, I kicked it hard enough to go, I just kicked it. I was so frustrated. Well, Keith looked at me with such a surprised look on his face, and he almost smiled because I have a lot of issues and a lot of problems, but I'm not a rageaholic. Well, later I was so embarrassed. I was on my way to work, and I know I'm safe with my man, and that he thought it was kind of funny, but I still, on the way to work, I just thought, what an idiot. And so out loud, I asked the Lord, what in the world was that? What in the world was that? And the Lord answered me in my heart. Sometimes He'll speak to us in a concept of something that comes so clear. I want you to know something. If you're new to a relationship with Him or you don't yet have one at all, He didn't speak audibly to me. But a truth came into my heart. A sense came into my heart as plain as what I'm about to say to you now. I felt the Lord say to me, you have not let me take the time to heal you over your hurt feelings in that situation. And it's coming out in anger. And He was right, because there had been a situation arise that was very frustrating, and it had hurt my feelings. And instead of giving myself time before the Lord to just let Him heal me up a little bit without taking the time to let Him address it, I just thought it's ridiculous. We're just going to go on. We're professionals here. We're going to work this through. I didn't take the time to deal with it before Him, and I paid the consequence for it in frustration and in irritability and in that moment of anger. I wonder if anybody can relate to that. Healing our souls takes time, and it's not just something we want to do once every couple of months. Life is hard, and it rips at us and it tears at us. Life will just bruise you up. If you're out there living it, you're getting beaten up by it. Just the day in, day out, things at work, things at home, we get our feelings hurt. A lot of us, if we're trying to be mature, we don't want to answer back to that. We don't want to get fussy over it. But we better get where we can tell God about it. And so we're going to stuff it down. We think that's maturity. That is not maturity. Maturity is when we learn to let God get to us through and through. Intimacy is when I bring my hurt feelings right to the very throne of grace and I tell on somebody. Be a tattletale. That's part of intimacy. And if I'll tell Him, I won't be prone to tell somebody else. I won't tell my friend. I won't tell my buddy that I entrust some of those things to. Just tell it to God, and then I'm done, because I got it off my chest. We can get too busy to sense the tender care of Christ, because tending takes time.
For more information on obtaining Beth's complete teaching,